Well, the wait is over. This is Nintendo DS.
The Nintendo DS was a huge seller for Nintendo back when it first released. Heck, it even went on to become one of the best-selling video game consoles of all time, selling 154 million units worldwide. That's probably why today we have the 3DS and even the Nintendo Switch, which is Nintendo's latest portable console. But I'm starting to get off topic, so let's get right into the video. This is the beta of New Super Mario Bros. DS. During E3 2004, we got our first look at the game. It was during this demonstration that they were still using the older Nintendo DS design, and during the gameplay itself, we saw what to expect. There were quite a few changes though, with one obvious change being the graphics. The level layouts look strikingly similar to Yoshi's Island. At least that's what I can see from the demo. The mushrooms also look different compared to the final game, along with the blocks having a more cartoonish style look and not working in the demo. Lastly, what stood out to me were the sound effects used. I immediately recognized some of them from the new Super Mario Bros. Minigames, and of course Super Mario 64 DS. I was told that some of them came from Mario Sunshine, but I've never played Mario Sunshine to really know if that's true. Please don't hurt me. But that's really it for this early demo. Other than the obvious changed levels and graphics, there's not much else to talk about. Oh yeah, and apparently Bowser was just relaxing out in the open before Mario decided to jump on him for no reason. There were some other screenshots released during this E3, however, most are just better captures from the demo. This one though, came from another level not shown during the demo, and it lets us see the different blocks they were using at the time. Before we take a look at more screenshots, let's take a look at one of the next demo videos I found, which came from E3 2005. This is when things started to look more like the final game. In here, while the graphics are starting to look closer to the final game, it's not 100% yet. The mushrooms still have that cartoonish look it seemed they were going for back in 2004, as do the pipes. What I found most interesting about this level though, was something that I think should have been kept in the final game. When the camera pans down to the lower screen, it shows 3 different item inventories, meaning we probably would have been able to hold up to 3 items had it not gotten changed to just 1. As the demo transitions, we get to see a castle level that was once again cut from the final game. However, it's here we see more unused blocks. The block that's spinning around actually looks like it's from Super Mario 64. And while it's a little hard to make out, when Mario enters the door you can hear the pipe sound effect. You guys also remember those red rings you go through to collect the red coins? Well, they exist in the demo but not the same way. In here, they were actually checkpoint rainbow rings that turned red after going through them. The giant Goomba boss battle still exists in the demo too, but the level is just slightly changed. What's cool though, is this next part from the demo. It shows another field type level, and for the first time ever we get to see the Mega Mushroom in action. Back then it was just a bigger red mushroom it seemed, but not only that, it didn't have any kind of moving animation after hitting it out of the block like in the final game. This level also shows yet another giant Goomba. This might have meant that the giant Goomba could have been a reoccurring character in later levels that had the Mega Mushroom. And I mean it makes sense because I've noticed when getting the Mega Mushroom in the final game, there's not much you can do with it other than build up points and get extra lives. Lastly, the pole changed a little bit too. It has a red flag and brown block, whereas the final game has a black flag with Bowser, and on the bottom it looks like a piece of the castle. Now that we've covered another demo video, let's get right into some more screenshots. Assuming you guys saw my thumbnail and noticed the logo, then now I can say that that logo was actually the original title screen. It looks pretty different to the US box art, but when compared to the PAL region box art, it looks similar in the sense that both Mario and Luigi share the spotlight, unlike where before Mario was much bigger. Why was Luigi in the title screen though right next to his brother? Well, we'll get into that in a bit, but let's look at some more pictures. Here's what all the previous world icons used to look like. It looks pretty different from the final game. In fact, it looks like this design would later be used in New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS. Alongside that, and while it's not entirely related, I also noticed in a ROM hack called Newer Super Mario Bros. DS, the newer team used the circle style designs in their game. While not the exact pictures obviously, they still used the design, which I thought was pretty cool. For the most part, the rest of the levels didn't go through many changes. However, what did change was the position of the timer and the coins. It also seemed they were planning to go with this decision based on how many screenshots I found on the beta that all had this setup. While not the most exciting, it's one of the few changes that I noticed happened during development. Here's something I've been holding off from mentioning until now. Remember what I said about Luigi being in the logo? Well, it turns out he may have been a playable character in some kind of co-op mode. There's tons of unused levels which show both Mario and Luigi playing on screen at the same time. And while this may have just been versus mode, I like to believe it was an unused co-op mode because of how it's presented, and also since in Mario 64, Nintendo wanted to make it a two-player game but couldn't because of how difficult it would have been to work in. Wanna know what else makes me believe this even more? Well, some of the levels that show the Italian duo have those blue question mark blocks. Again, from Mario 64. I mean, there was even an unused spin drift, for crying out loud. Just awesome, right? Before I get into the next part, let's check out this video right here. This shows both Mario and Luigi playing together during some of the different levels. Now, other than what I mentioned previously about Mario and Luigi playing together in the levels, it's here at this point in time we see that they're still using some of their early designs, like the older HUD for the bottom of the screen. But alongside that, I did notice that the red rings they started using changed from rainbow to blue, as seen throughout the demo levels. Lastly, while this might be difficult to make out because of the quality at the end of the video, you can actually see Mario jump on a spin drift and start seeing him spin around as he would in Mario 64. This probably means spin drift was indeed removed much later on in development, having already been put in the game and properly programmed. Something else worth noting about this demo, for those who didn't notice it, is the background music is slightly different from the final game. It would later on become the Overworld Versus theme, but not before going through at least 2 revisions it seems. Once again, here's the audio taken straight from the demo video itself. Now take a listen to a clean rip of another version from the same track that went unused. And finally, here's what the final version sounds like. Crazy, huh? Moving on to what I wanted to discuss next about the video is actually kind of weird since it still exists in the final game. You can only access it by hacking though. Before showing this part, I'd like to thank both YouTubers Tanks2000 and Ash Wolf, since they're the ones who were able to discover this in the past. I'll leave links to their channels down in the description. So what they actually did was discover you can access some of the beta levels in the final game just by hacking a bit. In fact, what you're seeing now is footage recorded by Ash Gray. While these levels are accessible, unfortunately they still have issues. The desert level you're seeing has an issue, and that being, if you don't knock out Lakitu, then the game will freeze. The next and more noteworthy level is the castle level. They showed this level in the demo quite a bit, and here we can see just what it was like. Again though, the issue with this level isn't with any kind of enemies, rather it just loops over and over so it never ends. I still thought it was interesting nonetheless that the beta levels, at least some, remain in the final game. After this point in time though, the information being sent out to the public started showing the game looking more and more like the final version we all know and love. The magazines being published in Japan also showed more or less the same levels from the final version, just with the timer and coin count still being in the top center of the screen. There was, however, one more prototype video I was able to find, and it's a late release one at that. Here's what level 1 was starting to look and sound like much later on in development. As you probably noticed, it looked pretty much the same, however, the soundtrack itself was missing those special BAW sound effects. And that about covers all the known information still out there on the beta of New Super Mario Bros. DS. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I definitely had fun making it, and you wanna know something funny? As I was finding information to put in this video, I read an article and saw a comment left by someone back in 2005. They said, "Game looks and sounds good except for the fact that it's for the DS. I haven't been impressed by the system. It is big and awkward, and touchscreen gameplay just isn't fulfilling based on the games that I've played. A version of this for the GBA or GameCube or Revolution would be nice though." Oh boy, were they in the wrong considering how well the original DS did and how well the 3DS is doing. Another fun fact from that quote is what the user meant by Revolution was the Nintendo Wii at the time, since Revolution was its code name. This has been DGN, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you, bye bye.